Does the term networking make you feel kind of a little bit gross, a little bit like it's a hollow word? Well, then you're going to want to stick around for this conversation with Alexis Dean. Alexis is from the Dovetail Community, has built something truly amazing that I've been a part of. And I'm super excited for this conversation about how we can stop networking and start really building and developing deeper relationships to grow our businesses. So welcome, Alexis.
Hi, Laura. I'm so excited to be here. This is actually my first LinkedIn live and new thing.
Yeah, we're streaming on 3 platforms. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube right now. I know. Who knew? Who knew? Amazing. So I feel like now people are getting back to, networking, especially in person. I feel like it's been much harder, especially to build relationships virtually with people. So now that people are starting to network again and get back out there, they're kind of going, ugh, maybe I didn't really love this in the first place. How can I actually connect with people and build deeper relationships with them? So let's just start with what does networking mean to you? Like, what does that term mean?
Well, part of the reason why I started this business and why I started a community of women entrepreneurs is because I hated networking the traditional networking events where you show up and you're kind of wearing something that maybe you don't normally wear, and you're carrying business cards and you're wearing uncomfortable shoes. And it feels like you kind of have to put on this weird mask sort of thing and like present yourself to the world. And I just did not jive with that. I would go to things and I would find myself trying to have like real conversations with people, and they would look at me like I had a third eyeball. Like, what? Just like swap business cards and, talk about the weather. And so to me, the networking term has always just been something that feels a little bit unnatural and icky. And it's, business card swapping. I'm here because I want something from people. I'm here to pitch people. I'm like in that kind of graspy sort of energy, which I don't know that anybody really loves if you stop to think about it.
Probably not. Well, and anybody who's joining, feel free to pop into the chat and let us know, like, what does networking mean to you? And do you love it? Do you hate it? How would you like to see networking be instead of that, like, kind of a little bit like, okay, how many people can I meet? How many business cards can I give out tonight?
Yeah.
And that's really what it can feel like, but it doesn't have to. So how do you see you redefining networking? Because it's more about connecting, I would see it.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think like there are still a lot of networking events happening, and people are starting to bring back in, networking nights and networking events. And I know that it can be helpful to attend these things, and a lot of people will still find themselves going. So I'm not here to like bash people who are hosting events and calling them networking events. I think there's just a better way to do it. And so I have 3 things that I like to think about when I'm going to an event or when I'm participating in a community, where I know that there's going to be an opportunity to build a business, but more importantly, there's going to be an opportunity to build relationships. And to me, I think that is, and that has been the key to success for myself, and the most successful entrepreneurs that I know and the women that I'm fortunate enough to work with are all great relationship builders. And relationships are the long game and not the short game. So I always start with number 1, thinking about how do I want people to feel? So whether you're going to a great community event like Dovetail or you're going to a networking event, you can still go in with this sense of, how do I want the people that I interact with to feel after they connect with me? Do I want them to feel like I was like slapping business cards at them and trying to pitch them, and I felt really nervous because I had a pitch I had to give them, or some awkward, like, I don't know, what an elevator thing where I just spewed it out at them? Nobody wants to feel that way. It's so uncomfortable. So I start with thinking about, how do I want to feel, and go from there. And I don't know if you're ready for number 2, but I think
we have a comment here. Leslie says, I really value the connecting with people. It opens the doors to relationships, support, and collaboration, which is absolutely true.
Exactly. Yeah. And connecting is just like how people feel when they're with you and how you feel when you're with people.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't have to be like, what can I get from people? It's how can I create like a really great energy in this space?
Okay. So number 1 was, how do I want people to feel? So what's number 2?
So number 2 is, how can you help them tap into their highest vision for themselves? Again, this might sound a little woo. I work with corporate folks all the time. My other business is a corporate team building company. And so I'm in with like Fortune 500s and banks about every week.
Oh, Alexis, I think we're having some signal issues. Alexis, are you there? We've lost her. I don't know what the internet, it might be an internet issue. All right, well, we'll see if she comes back. Yeah, if you're joining us, pop into the chat. Let me know, where you've met some amazing people. I don't know if you saw my video from last week. I did call it networking in the strangest or the oddest places. But you'll have to go back and watch my video from last week when I share about meeting somebody at the airport, and we've just lost her. Let's see. I'm sure she'll be back. So we'll give it a minute here. If anybody has any specific questions about connecting, oh, here she is again.
Sorry, I don't know.
I was filling in the air. I was like, okay.
No, and I was filling in the air too because I wasn't sure if I was the only one left on it. So we both filled in some air.
I don't know who was live there. I think it was me.
Yeah, anything can happen. It's probably me. I live on a maple syrup farm, a sugar bush up north, and we are on Northern Net, which gotta love them because they've made Wi-Fi accessible to everyone, but it is Northern Ontario Wi-Fi.
Got it. Okay, so you were talking about number 2.
Yes. Helping people tap into their highest vision. And so instead of, I've heard a lot of people say like, you should ask people, how can I help you? Which is like a genuinely good-hearted thing to ask, but it also sometimes creates a bit of a weird dynamic where if you're offering to help everyone, it's like you have all the answers and you're there to like bestow your great knowledge on people.
Yeah.
It's creating an environment where someone can excitedly share what they're really passionate about. And then you can look for opportunities if there is an opportunity for you or your company or anything that you're involved in to help them. So I look for opportunities to talk about what people are most excited about, what they're building in their business, what they're excited about in their life, and get them tapped into something that really lights them up. So look for opportunities to get stories from people and to have them talk, which I think is what most of us love doing, or sharing things from our experience. And then instead of, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it is interesting. I remember the first time somebody asked me, like, tell me something exciting that you're working on right now. It's like, oh, I'm not sure anybody's asked me that before. It's like I connect, so it really does change that, because then you get to show what you're passionate and enthusiastic about, and it shows a new side of you.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And it's something that you're enthusiastic about, or something that you're building, or, a dream that you have for your business, or, sometimes even if you're talking to people who might not be lit up about their work, there are things in our lives that might be exciting. Or maybe for some people, it's like, actually, I'm excited to sell this business and move on to something different. And so there's always some way to tap into someone's vision for their future, or something that they're actually excited about, rather than like, how can I help you? And then the person's like, you can't help me. I don't really need help right now. And then it sort of like shuts the conversation down.
Yeah.
So tap into that.
I could see that. Somebody asked me once as well. It's so like, you want to make note of these great questions people ask. And it was, what's been great about your week?
I love that.
And I was like, oh, and then because it could be a personal win, it could be a professional win, like it could be just like, hey, something that has zero to do with your business. And they're like, oh, they get to know you more as a person and a bit more well-rounded. So
yes. Yeah. I love that question. And I think, again, like connecting with people just depends on where you are. If it's a work event, if it's a social event, whatever it might be. But a mentor of mine talks about generative questions. So questions that allow people to tell stories and open them up to sharing more than just like their prepared elevator pitch or like their job description or whatever it might be. But I love that opportunity to really connect and share something different and share something interesting.
Amazing. What was your other, you had 3 things.
The third one, yeah. If you're doing an interview or something, you have to show up with like, here are the 3 tips. Yeah. So I had the third, and the third one is so obvious, but it's just lose the business cards. I think you might know my friend Blake as well. Blake Fleischhacker has some great things that he's been doing over the years. And I've been lucky enough to be a recipient and a friend of his. So I always get his texts. But for me, when I go to an event and people are kind of like throwing the business cards around, I often don't carry business cards. And I do that intentionally because we all have our phones. So why not just get the person's phone number and send them text straight away, and then follow up with a text that is more than just like, hey, great to meet you, that's lovely as well. That's better than most people do. But I think that you could send them a photo of like something that they talked about, or I loved hearing about, your kids, or I loved hearing about your big vision for growing the business and having, tapping into the American market. Maybe it's like a picture of the Statue of Liberty or something, but something that shows that you were listening, and it doesn't have to be stuffy or formal. It's just a way to actually connect with them and show that you're paying attention. And it doesn't have to be fancy. But I do think that actually following up, and I think, Laura, you've received some of my little recordings, and it doesn't have to show your face. You don't have to do a selfie video, because I know that's intimidating for a lot of folks, but it's just like a voice recording over a picture. And sometimes I'll even jump on Instagram, just make like a, hey, Laura, or whatever, like in handwriting. And it's just personal, and it makes the person feel like, oh, that person was actually listening when I shared. And so, yeah, find a way to get away from the business cards and create a more personal connection. And texting usually does that. So.
I think that whether it's networking or even with clients or however, I don't think we have to put on the same kind of business front. Like, yes, they need to take you seriously. Yes, you need to have boundaries, but I also think that it doesn't have to always be so structured. Mm-hmm. In the way that you do that. And I did love that. So Alexis, I went to Dovetail Summit in the Bahamas earlier this year. And you sent me a voice note, and it was a picture of me from the event dancing one night at the party. And it was just, you really put some thought into the commentary around like what I brought to the event, how I showed up, how I made people feel. And it was like, oh, that's really special, because even that was months ago that you sent that to me. And I haven't listened to it recently, but I remembered the overarching, message of what you said to me in that. So it just goes to show, even if that had been an email, it wouldn't have had the same feeling. It wouldn't have made me feel the same way. Mostly because I don't like being in my inbox, but
that's really do, right?
I know. Who doesn't love to get a text message that is like, hey, you're kind of awesome, and here's why, and thanks for showing up. It feels really amazing. So, Lesia, awesome. Thanks for your feedback, Lesia. Yeah, I've started doing more of the voice messages and more, or like even like a little video, like, hey, because it's a lot faster too sometimes than typing and like, oh, am I going to get the right feeling out in this? Instead of like overthinking it in your head, you can just say it and then it's done.
Exactly. And like, I always make sure that they know that it's personal for them. So it's not just like something I send to everybody. And so I'll usually start with like a little, like, I made something for you. Or if I do a voice note with like an image, then I'll like have their name on it or something, so that people actually listen to it or open it and they don't think it's like generically like, I've just spammed 500 people with this message.
Yeah. You want to have it a little bit personalized so that it actually feels like, oh, this is for me, not for sort of everybody. So how have you seen this way of, networking of, where's my frame? There we go. Networking. It's always so strange on this because it's backwards to what you think it's going to be. What have you seen as the power of this versus like the traditional networking? Like when you see people building relationships to grow themselves, like the support they get, and then how it can grow their business as well. Can you give, like, you don't have to name anybody, but like just some examples of what you've seen?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I've been hosting the Dovetail Community for 4 years, and we host an annual camp, which is about 200 women. And then we host our smaller membership and our summit, which is fewer than 50 women who are all established women entrepreneurs. And in both of those groups, the power of actually connecting with people, I think, is so much stronger than just about any, not to toot my own horn, but our community's horn is there is so much power in real connection. And sometimes I'll have new people say, well, I don't know if going to this thing, like it feels like a fun thing or a nice to have. I don't know if that's really worth it for me. But what I'm seeing is people coming to an event where they're letting down their hair, they're taking off the mask, and they're not showing up in that like weird, like I'm here to network and power network or whatever. And they're in a different headspace and mind space and heart space. And it has created the depth of relationship that you just don't get when you're in a different kind of environment. So examples out of that are like building business collaborations and referral partnerships that are not like, those like transactional kind of things, but more just that people actually really get to know each other and they get to know each other's businesses and they want to support each other. And I think most of all, over the past 4 years, like I've owned another business. I had my other company for over 7 years. And when I started Dovetail and being part of a real community of women, whatever I need, I can find it in the community. I have this incredible group of women to reach out to. And so if I'm hiring and I need like a job description, or, I want to know what people are doing with contracts, or I'm like, I'm going to get married and I don't know how to like balance this with my partner, or anything in life or work, there are women who have been through it, who have introductions to make, who have connections to make, who want to support me, who want to support each other, most importantly. And that, I think, is the power of community, that it's not a transactional business card, that it's not a one-off meeting. I actually sat with this person, like, for example, at camp, like it's 4 days, and there are times when you can be in a hands-on workshop, but there are also times when you can be hanging out in a hammock or sitting on the dock with someone and having a real conversation. And those are where the relationships are really built, is those depth of conversation that people have and that they get into, and then the ways they find to support each other, and the way that we facilitate that too, because we create an environment where it's not just, how can you help me? It's much deeper than that, and much more based on real friendship and relationship.
Yeah. And what I've learned is you really need to be willing to take off the mask. Right. And that can be really hard. It can be hard for people to like, and it can take some time to just like relax into it.
Yeah.
And there's got to be a willingness to really show up
Totally.
as you, and to have those deeper conversations, and to be vulnerable, and to share, and to forge that. And what I've seen is, you also need to be willing to ask for help when you need it.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think, especially as women, we're often like, I can do this myself. I got this, and the reality is we can do so much more together. And so there's just that willingness to ask for support, whatever that might be. Like even, with the Dovetail community, when my assistant passed away suddenly in March, I reached out to the ladies I met at Dovetail in January, and the support I got, and people just like every ounce of energy and calls and support. And it was just, I just reached out. I just needed that support in that difficult time. And it flooded in. But if I kept that to myself, I'd be like, I just need to deal with this myself. And I don't, then you don't get that extra support, that extra energy from amazing people. So I think really, when you join these communities, you have to be willing to take the mask off, and to ask for help when you need it.
Yeah. I think that's huge. You're right. I think like that, being able to show up, and it's not about the appearance thing, because we have ladies who love to get glammed up and hair and makeup and the rest of it. It's more just that, can I be real with the people here? And also, again, not just like, this is not Dovetail promo only, but are you in a space where that is facilitated, where it's an environment like a Dovetail? We always say make horseshoes, not circles, because a horseshoe leaves space for a new woman, a new idea, people to feel welcome, people to feel open. And we also create an environment where, whether it's like women who have massive businesses and, almost $1 billion or whatever it might be, or women who are in their second year of business, feel equally comfortable to be honest and to share and to say, like, being an entrepreneur at any level of experience or size of business is hard. And we need each other. We need real support, and we need a space where it's safe to say, I'm struggling and I don't know what to do, or I've got this huge decision ahead of me and I'm not sure how to make this decision, or whatever it might be. So yeah, finding a way to pull back the curtain and be honest and I do think it starts with being honest with ourselves too, with like being willing to be real and not care if there are judgy people out there who want to say, oh, you must not be a professional if you don't know this or that or whatever. Because like I know some insanely successful women and they still have days where they're like, I completely don't know what I'm doing. And they figure it out because they have
and they keep moving forward, right? That's also the key, is that they're like, I don't know this now, but I'm going to figure it out. And I have a network of people, connections and relationships with people that I can reach out to for support. And that's a beautiful thing. And I'm in, have been in many communities and they've been a huge part of building my business in many ways. And I'm in some now, I'm in Wayfinders, and that's another group of entrepreneurs, and Dovetail and other ones. And it's like, it's just finding the people that resonate with you, that you can bring value to them and they can bring value to you, and you can just meet each other and kind of sit at the table together.
Totally. I think that wild generosity, like not every community has that level of generosity where people are not competing with each other, genuinely not competing, even if they're in the same industry or similar businesses, where they actually just want to show up and support one another. And that then in turn, they're able to get the same kind of support. So I think there are some amazing groups out there. And whether you're a woman entrepreneur and Dovetail's a fit, or there's another, there are other friends of mine that host communities that you just mentioned. There's always, I think, a place for everyone. And I just want everyone to find that space. And if you're somebody who's hosting events and you want to talk about how to get past the networking space, then I am so here for it. So you can always reach out to me on social, or I can leave my info in the bottom of this post or whatever.
Yeah, amazing. So you have Camp Tailwind coming up in September. I will be there. I'm speaking. I'm actually flying back from Italy.
Holy Hannah, we are so honored.
So, and I'm not much of a camper, Alexis. So we'll see. There'll be a cabin and a bed for me, so it'll be better.
They're all cabins. Yeah, no
tent. I would definitely not be flying back for that. Cabins and running water and some good food and a bed. I can, I'll be there. So can you share a little bit about Camp Tailwind and who it's for and any other details?
Totally. So Dovetail has two parts. One is our Camp Tailwind, which is not under the Dovetail name, but it is a camp for all women entrepreneurs. So there are women sitting at the table with you who may have, grown massive businesses. And there are also women sitting at the table who might be in their second year of business. But it's a space where we have workshops that are hands-on for every level of experience. Again, it's not about a hierarchy, but it's just like, what do you most need in your business right now? And so there are workshops all day that you can choose from. And if you are somebody who wants to do the camp things, you can also sign up for camp activities, and it's all included. So we want people to come and leave their wallets in their bags and just be there and be present and participate. So there's everything from sessions on building a holacratic, I don't know if you've heard of holacracy, but how to build a holacratic organization, or EOS, if you're a traction person, how to establish EOS as your company grows, or sessions on building a stronger brand and marketing and everything else you could possibly need in your business. And again, at different stages, NFTs, Bitcoin, all of that, all included, as well as life sessions. So one of our most popular sessions at our last camp was cycle syncing and how to apply that, again, in any way in your business and life. And then there's all the camp stuff. So stand-up paddleboarding, canoeing, ropes course, zip line, archery. Who doesn't want to do archery at summer camp? Arts and crafts. So that's happening September 22nd to 25th. Our applications are still open. We are getting close to capacity, which is really exciting. And I'm expecting us to be full by the end of June at the very latest. So we'll put the link in here. And for anyone who's watching, you have 48 hours. This is not available publicly, so please do not share this, do not post this. But if they use the code LABCreative, all in caps, there is a special offer just for people who are watching and listening, and of course for clients of Lab Creative. And that is at, we'll put the link in here, but it's www.camptailwind.com. And a tailwind is a wind that comes and pushes you along in your business. So that is the power of having an incredible community of women behind you.
Amazing. Oops, I made a typo.
That's okay. I'll go in and make sure that we
Tailwind.com. Yeah. And then the code Lab Creative.
Okay. Yeah.
Sweet.
Woo!
Exclusive deal.
Woo!
Not creative.
Yeah. I mean, they're just such incredible women who are coming, and women come from across North America. So we have a whole cohort from DC and San Francisco and Georgia and New York and Montreal. And so, yeah, it's just a great group of women, and it's one of my favorite parts of the year.
Amazing.
And then we also have our Dovetail Summit as well, and we are launching a new membership in the fall. So if you have an established business, come to camp, but also know that summit will be coming, and more news about that is coming soon.
Amazing. Well, thank you for joining me, Alexis. Thank you for all you do to help support women entrepreneurs and create these amazing communities where, you know, people just they feel seen and heard, and that they can be themselves and they can share and deeply connect to, you know, support them in all aspects of their life and their business, whether it's, you know, on a personal side or a professional side. So thank you for all that you do. And if you're thinking of joining Camp Tailwind, definitely reach out to Alexis. I'm super excited, and I'll meet you on the archery range, I guess. I'm pretty good. So
I am a terrible archer. People need to like we have lots of great staff, and they can teach you if you don't know what you're doing.
Right. Like, we won't be doing archery together, but I will be doing archery, and then you can be doing something else I'm not very good at.
Stay with me.
Thank you again for being here and sharing your amazing insights and your tips on how to really break through that traditional networking model and create those deep relationships to form amazing relationships. So thank you, Alexis.
Thank you so much. This has been fun.
Awesome. Bye, everybody.